boys and girls, and it's you there. Well, welcome to your first video on the coordinate plane. Just in case you hear a humming sound in the background, that's my computer fan that's not really working. So I apologize, and just bear with me. I'll try to get it fixed soon. Alright, in this video, we're going to briefly discuss just some key vocabulary terms with the coordinate plane. Make sure you have your graphic organizer out. If you do not, pause this video and you can go get your graphic organizer. Okay, the first key term that we're going to talk about is the origin. But before I get started, I'm going to show you some real-world examples of why we use the coordinate plane. So the first one is if you look at this map of the world, a lot of people use the coordinate plane for latitude and longitude. We'll talk a little bit more about that in class, but that gives each location on the Earth a number. So latitude and longitude are used to determine a specific location. Another example, guess I don't have one here. Another example is here. Oceanographers, or anyone who might work in the ocean, that could be between driving ships around, or someone who needs to map out the ocean, also needs to use a coordinate plane to understand where things are located in the ocean. I had another example of a map, but I'm not sure where it went. But if you think about downtown Philadelphia, or in your neighborhood, right, all your streets are kind of form a coordinate plane, or might look like a grid. Downtown Philadelphia looks like a grid, where all of the streets are either parallel or perpendicular to each other. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in class at another time. Alright, so the first key vocabulary term that I'm going to talk about is the origin. A coordinate plane is a two-dimensional surface, meaning it's flat. There are some three-dimensional coordinate planes, but we're not going to get into that at the moment. So on your graphic organizer, the first thing we're going to talk about is the origin. The origin is right dead center in the middle of the coordinate plane. So on your graphic organizer, let me zoom in a little bit. The origin is your third box down. So I want you to open the origin tab. Under origin, I want you to draw just a simple coordinate plane, and we're going to put a dot right in the middle. This is your origin. The ordered pair, which I'll get to in a minute, is parenthesis 0, comma, 0. It's right in the middle. The next thing I want to talk about are something called quadrants. Quadrants are sections of the coordinate plane. So this is quadrant 1, which is formed by this axis and this axis. This is quadrant 2. This is quadrant 3. And this is quadrant 4. It goes in a counterclockwise direction. So on your graphic organizer, quadrant is directly across from origin. So again, I want you to draw two axes, which I'll discuss in a minute, and we're going to label each quadrant. This is 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Sometimes mathematicians will use Roman numerals, but we're just going to stick to these types of numbers for now. The next thing I want to talk about are the axes, or axes. This is going to be important when we start to graph points on the coordinate plane. So this line here is a horizontal line. This is what we call your x-axis. The line going up and down, vertical, is your y-axis. So the horizontal line is x, the y-axis is the vertical line. So going back to the flipped graphic organizer, I want you to open the x-axis tab. And again, we're going to draw both the axes. And you're going to label this one as X. If you're able to get a different color, like a highlighter, I suggest you pause the video and go get a highlighter. So I'm going to highlight this axis as my x-axis. Again, I'm going to draw another coordinate plane under my y-axis tab, and I'm going to label this axis as y. Actually, make sure you add an X on both sides. So the vertical line is your y-axis. If you don't have a highlighter, you can come into class tomorrow and you can highlight both of those sections. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, which will be in your next few videos, is something called an ordered pair. So if I were to graph a point on this coordinate plane, here's my point, and you'll learn how to graph it in the next video. Whoops. So this point is what we call an ordered pair. In order to write an ordered pair, open up your ordered pair tab, which is the first one. An ordered pair is written with 2 parentheses and 2 values. The first value is your x. The second value is your y. And again, we're going to dig into this a little bit further. I just want to expose you to the vocabulary. Now, again, looking at our point, this is my point here. My x value is 2. That's also known as your x coordinate. So I want you to open the x coordinate tab, all the way at the bottom. We're going to use the same ordered pair, 2, 5. So 2 is my x value. Again, if you have a highlighter, you might want to highlight the 2. Then turn over to your y value tab. And 5 is your y value. Again, this video is just to help you a little bit understand and expose you to the key vocabulary that we're going to use when graphing with the coordinate plane. So as you can see, this point here, the x value is 2. And the y value is 5. Now, move this a little bit. Let's kind of just quickly review the terms. So this is your origin, the middle. You have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. My horizontal line is my x-axis. My vertical axis is my y-axis. This point here is called an ordered pair, and it's written with an x-coordinate in combination with a y-coordinate. All right, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed this video. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in class tomorrow. And I'm a little bit sad to see you leave. Have a good night.